The ship broke through the clouds, and Commander Talvon looked down at the planet below. Earth. The forbidden world. The dead world. 300 years had passed since the Velen Dominion sent their great fleet to end the human species. Now Talvon had come to see what remained. "Atmospheric readings are stable," said Arish, the young science officer. His forefingers moved across the control panel with nervous speed. "Commander, this does not match our records. The planet should be toxic. It should be dead." Talvon waved his hand to dismiss the concern. "Instruments malfunction. Sensors lie. The bombardment was complete. Nothing survived." But even as he spoke, Talvon felt something cold in his chest. Through the observation window, he could see green. Forests covered the land below. Rivers cut silver paths through valleys. This was not the burned wasteland their history books described. The ship descended toward the eastern continent, to a place the old records called the Korean Peninsula. This region had been home to millions of humans before the extinction. Now, it would become the first Velen colony on Earth. They landed in what had once been a great city. Towers of metal and glass rose around them, but nature had claimed them long ago. Trees grew through broken windows. Vines wrapped around fallen bridges. Birds flew between the ruins, singing songs that echoed through empty streets. Talvon stepped out of the ship first. The air was clean and cool. It smelled of flowers and rain. This was wrong. Everything was wrong. "Send the survey team," Talvon ordered. "Search the area. Find proof of the extinction." 12 Velen soldiers spread out through the ruins. Arish stayed close to the commander, his scanning device held in trembling hands. The young officer had studied human history. He knew what they had done to deserve destruction. Humans were violent. Humans were unpredictable. Humans refused to submit to the natural order of the galaxy. The Velen Dominion had conquered 1,000 worlds, across 10,000 years. Every species eventually understood their place. They accepted Velen rule. They served. They survived. But humans had refused. When the Dominion offered them the choice between submission and death, humans had chosen to fight. They lost. Of course they lost. How could primitive creatures challenge the masters of the galaxy? "Commander?" A soldier's voice crackled through the communication device. "We found something. Grid 7. You need to see this." Talvon and Orish walked through the ruins, stepping over fallen concrete and rusted metal. They found the soldiers standing before a structure that had been cleared of plants. Someone had maintained this place. Recently it was a shrine. The structure was simple, but carefully built. Stone walls surrounded a central pillar, and on that pillar were carved hundreds of names. Human names. Orish recognized the style from his studies. These were Korean names, belonging to a culture that had existed on this peninsula. Taho, Hana, Minho, Yuna, Jiho, Nari. The names went on, covering every surface of the pillar. Some were old, carved deep into the stone by ancient hands. Others were newer, the cut still sharp and clean. "Someone made these marks recently," Orish whispered. "Within the last few years, it's impossible," Talvon said. But his voice lacked conviction. Orish moved around the pillar, translating the symbols with his device. At the base, he found a phrase written larger than the names. The translator struggled with the meaning, processing the human language through databases that had not been updated in centuries. Finally, the words appeared on his screen. "We did not forget. We did not forgive. We waited." Silence fell over the group. The birds had stopped singing. The wind had gone still. Even the leaves seemed to hold their breath. "This means nothing," Talvon said loudly. "Perhaps some humans survived the initial bombardment. Perhaps they lived here for a time before dying out. This shrine is a relic. A monument to false hope," Commander Orish said quietly. "The newest carvings were made within the last 5 years. Someone is maintaining this shrine. Someone is still here." Talvon grabbed the scanning device from Orish's hands and studied the data himself. The young officer was right. The stone showed clear evidence of recent work. But this was impossible. The extinction bombardment had been thorough. The Dominion had burned the surface, poisoned the oceans, and blocked the sun for decades. Nothing could have survived, and yet something had. Scan the surrounding area, Talvin ordered. Full sweep. Find whoever did this. The soldiers activated their equipment and began searching. Orish stayed by the shrine, reading the names carved into stone. Each name represented a person, a human who had lived and died on this world. How many of them had seen the Velen ships darken the sky? How many had watched their world burn? The scanner beeped. Orish looked at the screen and felt his blood turn cold. Commander, I am detecting energy signatures. From where? From below. Orish pointed at the ground. Deep below. There are structures beneath us. Massive structures. And they are not natural. Talvin stared at the young officer for a long moment. Then he looked down at the earth beneath his feet. The Velen had conquered 1,000 worlds. They had faced every type of enemy the galaxy could produce. But they had never faced anything like this. They had never faced an enemy that could hide for 300 years. Find an entrance, Talvin commanded. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. We need to know what they built down there. The soldiers spread out once more, searching the ruins for a way underground. Orish remained by the shrine, his eyes fixed on the final phrase carved into the stone. We did not forget. We did not forgive. We waited. He thought about those words for a long time. The humans had been waiting. But waiting for what? What could a dead species possibly hope to achieve? Far above them, the sun began to set behind the mountains. Shadows stretched across the ruined city, and somewhere deep beneath the earth, ancient machines began to wake. The Velen had come to claim a dead world. They were about to discover that the world had never died. It had only been sleeping. And now, after 300 years of patience, it was ready to open its eyes. The entrance was hidden beneath a collapsed building. A soldier found it while clearing rubble from what had once been a government center. The tunnel mouth was wide enough for 3 Velen to walk side by side, and it descended into perfect darkness. Talvin stood at the edge and looked down. Cold air rose from below, carrying a smell that was both ancient and strangely alive, like stone and water and something else. Something that had been growing in the dark for a very long time. Lights, Talvin commanded. The soldiers activated their equipment. Bright beams cut through the darkness, revealing walls of smooth stone reinforced with metal bars. This was not a natural cave. Humans had built this tunnel. They had dug deep into the earth and created something that was meant to last. The expedition moved forward. 12 soldiers, Orish, and Commander Talvin himself. 13 Velen, walking into the unknown. Orish tried not to think about what that number meant in human superstition. He had read that humans considered it unlucky. The tunnel descended for nearly a kilometer before opening into a wider passage. Here, the walls were covered with paintings. Orish stopped to examine them, shining his light across images that told a terrible story. The first painting showed the sky filled with Velen ships, thousands of them, blocking out the sun. Below, human cities burned. People ran through streets filled with fire and smoke. The artist had captured their fear in simple, powerful lines. The second painting showed humans fleeing underground. Families carried children into tunnel mouths. Old people helped each other walk. Soldiers stood guard at the entrances, facing upward with weapons in their hands. They knew they could not win. They were buying time for others to escape. The third painting showed a woman standing before a crowd. She was tall and strong, with eyes that seemed to burn even in the faded artwork. Her name was written below in Korean letters, Sujin. She was pointing deeper into the earth, leading her people away from the dying surface. Who was she? Talvin asked. Alita Orish replied. She brought them here. She saved them. She only delayed their death, did she? Orish looked at the commander with an expression Talvin did not like. We found the shrine. Someone still lives here. Talvin did not respond. He ordered the group to continue moving. The tunnels grew more complex as they descended. Side passages branched off in every direction. Chambers opened on both sides, filled with the remains of human life. Orish saw beds carved from stone, cooking areas with ancient pots and tools, storage rooms filled with jars that had once held food. Thousands of people had lived here, maybe tens of thousands. They had built an underground city, a world beneath the world. They had survived. But the deeper the expedition went, the emptier the tunnels became. The living areas gave way to empty corridors. Dust covered everything. Footprints were rare and old. The records end about 200 years ago, Orish reported, studying his scanner. After that, no signs of habitation. They either died or moved somewhere else. They died, Talvan said firmly. Resources would have run out. Disease would have spread. They had no future down here. Then who made the new carvings on the shrine? Talvan had no answer. They pressed deeper still. The tunnels changed again. The simple stone walls became something else entirely. Metal frames appeared surrounding passages that seemed too perfect, too precise to be made by human hands. Strange symbols covered the surfaces, different from the Korean writing above. These were technical diagrams, mathematical formulas, a scientific notation that Orish struggled to understand. "Commander," a soldier called from ahead. "We found something." Gathered around the discovery. A body lay against the wall, still wearing armor that Orish recognized immediately. Velen armor. Old design, at least 2 centuries outdated, but unmistakably Velen. The skeleton was intact. No marks of violence on the bones. The soldier had simply sat down against the wall and died. His weapon lay beside him, fully charged, never fired. But most disturbing was his position. He was facing the way they had come, watching the tunnel behind him, guarding against something that might follow. "This is impossible," Talvan whispered. "No Velen ever came to Earth after the bombardment. Our records are clear." "Our records are wrong," Orish said. He scanned the body and the surrounding area. This soldier died approximately 180 years ago. He was alone. He was afraid. "How do you know he was afraid?" Orish pointed at the wall behind the skeleton. Scratched into the metal with desperate fingers were words in the Velen language, a final message from a dying soldier. "They see in the dark. They move without sound. They are not what we remember. Do not come here. Do not follow us. Tell the Dominion. Tell them what we found." The soldiers shifted nervously. Their weapons rose slightly, pointing into the darkness ahead. Something had killed this Velen scout. Something had hunted him through these tunnels until he collapsed from exhaustion or fear, or both. "We continue forward," Talvan ordered. His voice was harder now. "Whatever killed this soldier died long ago. The tunnels are empty. We have nothing to fear from ghosts." They moved past the body, stepping carefully around the ancient bones. The tunnels grew wider. The metal surfaces became more complex. Machines appeared, dormant and silent, built into the walls like organs in a living body. Orish recognized some of the technology. Power generators, environmental processors, communication arrays. The humans had not simply hidden in the earth. They had built something down here, something vast and sophisticated. Then they entered the main chamber, and Orish understood that everything he thought he knew about humans was wrong. The room stretched so far that their lights could not reach the walls. Massive pillars rose into darkness above, and covering every surface were screens, panels, and controls that had clearly been designed by minds far more advanced than the primitive species the Velen had tried to destroy. In the center of the room stood a terminal. Its screen flickered with faint light. After 300 years of darkness, power still flowed through these ancient systems. Someone had built this place to last forever, and someone had left a message. Orish approached the terminal slowly. His heart beat fast in his chest. The screen glowed with soft blue light, pulsing gently like a sleeping creature taking slow breaths. Symbols appeared on the surface. Human symbols. A question. "It is asking for confirmation," Orish said. "It wants to know if we are Velen. Do not answer it," Talvan ordered. But it was too late. Sensors in the room had already scanned them. Cameras hidden in the walls had already captured their images. The machine knew exactly what they were. The screen changed. A new message appeared. Felon visitors detected. Playing recorded message. Welcome to Haven. The air in the chamber shifted. Holographic projectors activated, filling the space with blue light. And then a figure appeared before them. A human woman, old and weathered, with gray hair tied back from a face marked by decades of hardship. Her eyes were sharp and clear. She looked at them as if she could truly see them. "My name is Ara," she said. Her voice was calm and steady. "I am the last keeper of Haven. If you are watching this, then you have returned to our world. You have come to claim what you believe belongs to you." Talvin raised his weapon, pointing it at the hologram. His soldiers did the same. But Era only smiled. "Your weapons cannot hurt a memory, Commander. And that is all I am now. A memory and a message left here for you to find." She paused, as if gathering her thoughts. Then she continued. 300 years ago, your people came to our world with fire and death. You burned our cities. You poisoned our oceans. You blocked our sun and turned our sky to ash. You declared humanity extinct. You wrote in your records that we were gone forever. Ara shook her head slowly. "You were wrong." The holographic display expanded, showing images that made Orsha's blood run cold. Humans fleeing underground. Tunnels being dug with desperate speed. Millions of people crowding into shelters beneath mountains and cities. 17 million of us escaped the surface, Era explained. We fled into the earth like animals hiding from a storm. We lived in darkness and cold. We ate fungus that grew in caves. We drank water filtered from underground rivers. We survived. More images appeared. Children being born in underground chambers. Farms growing strange crops under artificial light. Schools where young humans learned from books and screens. Hospitals where doctors treated the sick with limited supplies. The first generation suffered the most. They remembered the sun. They remembered the sky. Many died from despair. But their children were stronger. They had never known the surface world. The tunnels were their home. The darkness was their friend. Era's expression changed. The sadness in her eyes transformed into something harder, something colder. Each generation grew stronger than the last. We adapted to life underground. Our eyes learned to see with less light. Our bodies learned to need less food. Our minds learned to think in new ways. We became something different from the humans you tried to destroy. The images shifted again. Now they showed humans working with technology that Arish did not recognize. Machines that seemed to grow rather than be built. Devices that merged living tissue with metal and glass. Scientists studying Velen equipment, taking it apart, understanding its secrets. We knew you would return someday. You always return to conquered worlds. You cannot help yourselves. So we prepared. Era stepped closer to the camera. Her face filled the display. We stopped being prey, Commander. We became hunters. Talvin lowered his weapon. His face had gone pale. Around him, his soldiers shifted nervously, their eyes scanning the shadows at the edge of the light. The place you stand in now is called Haven, Ira continued. It was our first sanctuary. But it is not our only home. We spread through the planet like roots growing through soil. We built cities deep beneath the surface. We connected them with tunnels that stretched for thousands of kilometers. We made the entire Earth our fortress. She smiled again, and this time there was no warmth in it. You will never find all of us. You will never destroy all of us. We have been hiding and growing for 300 years, and now we are ready. The display changed one final time. A map appeared, showing the planet from above. Glowing points marked locations across every continent. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Each point represented a human settlement hidden beneath the surface, waiting. I left this message for you because I wanted you to understand, Era said. I wanted you to know that we did not hide out of fear. We hid because we were patient. We hid because we knew that one day you would come back. And when you did, we wanted you to be afraid. A new set of coordinates appeared on the screen. Deep underground, far below even this chamber, something called Project Taiyang waited. Follow the coordinates if you want to see what we built. Or run back to your ship and tell your Dominion what you found. The choice is yours. But know this, Commander." Aira's voice dropped to a whisper. "Whatever you decide, it is already too late." The hologram flickered and disappeared. The chamber fell silent. Only the soft hum of ancient machines remained. Talvin stood frozen for a long moment. Then he turned to his soldiers. "We are leaving now, back to the ship." They moved toward the tunnel they had entered through. But when they reached it, they found only a solid wall. Metal plates had slid into place, sealing the passage. The way they had come was gone. Oresh checked his scanner with shaking hands. "Commander, there is movement in the tunnels around us. Multiple contacts. They are getting closer." Talvin looked at the sealed door. He looked at the darkness pressing in from all sides. And he finally understood what Aira had meant. They had walked into a trap 300 years in the making. And now the hunters were coming. The first soldier disappeared without a sound. One moment he was there, standing at the edge of the group with his weapon raised. The next moment he was gone. No scream, no struggle. Just empty air where a living being had stood. "Formation," Talvin shouted, backs together. Lights on all sides. The remaining soldiers obeyed, forming a tight circle in the center of the chamber. Their lights swept across the darkness, searching for movement. But the shadows seemed to swallow everything. The beams grew weak and thin, as if the darkness itself was hungry. Another soldier vanished. Then another. Each time, the same terrible silence. Each time, the group grew smaller. "What are they?" a soldier screamed. "What is taking them?" Oresh stared at his scanner. The device showed movement all around them, signals appearing and disappearing like ghosts. Whatever was hunting them moved faster than his equipment could track. Commander Oresh whispered, "We need to surrender. We cannot fight what we cannot see." "The Velen do not surrender," Talvin replied. But his voice was hollow. His confidence was gone. A new passage opened in the wall ahead. Stone and metal slid apart, revealing a corridor that had not been there before. At the end of the corridor, a faint light glowed. "They want us to follow," Oresh said. "Then we fight here." "With what?" "Half our soldiers are already gone. We never even saw what took them." Talvin looked at the remaining members of his team. 6 soldiers left, plus Orishand himself. 8 Velen against an enemy that could move through shadows like water through sand. "Move toward the light," Talvin finally ordered. "Slowly. Weapons ready." They walked through the new passage, their footsteps echoing off walls that seemed to breathe. The light ahead grew stronger, warmer, almost welcoming. They emerged into another chamber, smaller than the first. This one was different. Murals covered every surface, but these paintings were fresh. The colors were bright. The images were clear. Oresh studied the artwork with growing horror. The murals showed humans, but changed. Their bodies were thin and pale, built for life in darkness. Their eyes were large and gleamed with faint light. Some had arms that ended in tools rather than hands. Others had skin that seemed to merge with the stone around them. They had become creatures of the underground. They had become something new. Beautiful, is it not? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere. It spoke perfect Velen, without accent or error. The soldiers spun in circles, searching for the source. A figure stepped out of the shadows. It moved with impossible grace, each step silent on the stone floor. It was human in shape, but Oresh knew immediately that it was something more. The man was tall and lean. His skin was pale as moonlight. His eyes glowed with soft blue light, seeing in darkness as easily as the Velen saw in day. He wore no armor, no uniform. His body was his weapon. "My name is Dojan," he said, "and I have been waiting to meet you." Talvin raised his weapon. "Stay back. I will fire." Doyen smiled. It was not a cruel smile. It was patient, understanding, almost kind. "You could fire, Commander, but your weapons would not help you. We learned to avoid them long ago. Your soldiers discovered this when they were taken. What did you do to them? Nothing harmful. They are resting now, sleeping. When they wake, they will be treated as guests. Doyan tilted his head slightly. We are not monsters, Commander. We do not kill for pleasure. That was always more your way than ours. Arsh stepped forward. How do you speak our language so well? Practice. Doyun's smile widened. Your people have been sending scouts to Earth for 200 years. Small ships. Survey teams. They thought they were being careful. They thought they were undetected. They were wrong. The truth struck Orish like a physical blow. You captured them. All of them. We welcomed them. We learned from them. Their language. Their technology. Their weaknesses. Doyan began walking around the chamber, his fingers trailing across the murals. Each scout taught us something new. Each ship gave us new tools. We took what you offered and made it our own. Talvin's hand shook on his weapon. The Dominion will come for us. When we do not return, they will send a fleet. Hope they do. The calm certainty in Doyan's voice was more frightening than any threat. He stopped before a mural that showed humans standing beneath a new sun, rising from the earth into open sky. Your ancestors gave us a choice, Commander. Die in the light or live in the dark. We chose the dark. We had no other option. But you made a mistake. You thought darkness was a punishment? You thought it would break us. Instead, it made us strong. He turned to face them directly. His glowing eyes met Talvin's. For 300 years, we lived in the earth. We grew, we learned, we built, and we waited for this moment. The moment when we could finally show you what we became. Do you want? Talvin asked. We want you to deliver a message. Doyan pointed at Arish. He will return to your ship. He will fly back to your dominion, and he will tell them what he found here, and the rest of us. You will stay. You will learn about us as we learned about you. And when the Dominion receives the message, they will understand that the species they tried to destroy is no longer hiding. Doyon stepped closer. His presence filled the room like a cold wind. We are not coming for revenge, Commander. Revenge is small. We are coming to make sure that no species ever faces extinction at another's hands again. Your Dominion will answer for what it has done, not just to us. To every world you have silenced. In the darkness behind him, more figures appeared. Hundreds of them, thousands, all with glowing eyes. All watching, all waiting. The hunters had revealed themselves. And now, humanity was ready to hunt. Orish walked alone through the tunnels. The path was lit with soft blue lights that activated as he approached and faded behind him. He was being guided to the surface. The humans were keeping their promise. His mind raced with everything he had seen. The underground cities. The evolved humans with their glowing eyes. The technology that seemed to grow rather than be built. 300 years of preparation, hidden beneath a world the Dominion believed was dead. He emerged from the tunnel mouth as the sun rose over the mountains. The ruined city looked different now. He could see the signs he had missed before. Repaired structures hidden among the decay. Pathways that seemed overgrown but were actually carefully maintained. This place was not abandoned. It was a mask. His ship sat where they had left it, untouched. The humans could have destroyed it at any time. They had chosen not to. They wanted him to leave. They wanted him to carry their message back to the stars. Arish climbed aboard and sealed the door behind him. His hands moved across the controls automatically. The engines hummed to life. The ship rose from the surface of Earth, climbing through clouds toward the darkness of space. As he broke through the atmosphere, his sensors screamed with warnings. Orish stared at the display, unable to believe what he was seeing. The planet below him was waking up. All across the surface, massive structures were rising from the oceans. Ships, but unlike anything in Velen records. They were smooth and organic, grown rather than built, their hulls gleaming with the same blue light he had seen in human eyes. Cities appeared on continents that had been dark for 3 centuries. Power grids activated across entire regions. Satellites emerged from hidden launch sites, spreading into orbit like seeds scattered by the wind. The humans had not been hiding. They had been waiting. And now they were ready. A transmission reached his ship. Orish's hands trembled as he opened the channel. A young woman appeared on his screen. She had the same glowing eyes as Do Yen, but hers burned with a fire that seemed barely contained. Her face was calm. Her voice was steady. But behind her, Orish could see a command center filled with activity. Officers moving between stations, displays showing fleet positions across the planet. "I am Yeren," she said, "Commander of the Risen Earth. You are Orish, the one chosen to carry our message. I wanted to speak with you before you leave." Orish found his voice. "What is happening? What are all these ships?" "Our answer." Yeren smiled slightly. "For 300 years, we built in secret. We spread through the underground. We launched colonies to other worlds while your scouts watched the surface and saw only ruins. We were patient because patience was our greatest weapon." The display behind her changed, showing a map of the galaxy. Points of light appeared across dozens of systems. Human settlements hidden in places the Dominion had never thought to look. 17 million survivors became billions. We spread in silence. We watched your Dominion. We learned your weaknesses. And we prepared for this day. Orish shook his head. "This is impossible. We would have seen you. We would have detected your ships. You saw what we wanted you to see. Dead world. Empty space. Primitive species that deserved extinction." Yeren leaned forward. "You believed your own lies, Orish? That was your mistake." The transmission flickered as more data streamed through. Fleet compositions. Technology specifications. Military capabilities that made Orish's blood run cold. The humans had not just survived, they had surpassed their destroyers. "Take this information back to your Dominion," Yeren said. "Show them what we have become. And deliver this message." She paused, her glowing eyes fixed on the screen. 300 years ago, you tried to end us. Instead, you united us. You removed our divisions, our conflicts, our hesitation. You gave us a single purpose. And now, that purpose is complete. Behind her, the first ships of the Risen Fleet moved into formation. Thousands of them. Tens of thousands. More rising from the planet every minute. We are not coming for revenge. Revenge is small. Revenge is what weak species seek when they have nothing else. We are coming to ensure that no world ever faces what Earth faced. Your Dominion will answer for what it has done, not just to us, but to every species you have conquered, every culture you have destroyed, every child who died because you believed you had the right to decide who deserves to live. Yeren stood. The command center behind her fell silent. Every officer turned to face the screen. "Run home, little Velen. Tell your masters what waits for them. Tell them that humanity remembers. Tell them that we are coming." The transmission ended. Orish sat in silence for a long time. Through his window, he watched the human fleet continue to grow. Ships of every size emerged from the planet, from hidden stations in the asteroid belt. From moons and planets, the Dominion had declared lifeless. He thought about Talvin and the others. Left behind on Earth, he thought about the dead soldier in the tunnel, the one who had scratched a warning into the wall. He thought about every scout team that had disappeared over the past 2 centuries, captured by an enemy that was learning and growing in the dark. Then he activated his navigation system and set a course for a Dominion space. The journey would take weeks. When he arrived, he would stand before the council and tell them what he had seen. He would show them the data. He would deliver the message, and he would watch their faces as they finally understood. What they had created, the Velen had tried to destroy humanity. Instead, they had forged them into something stronger, something patient, something that had learned to turn darkness into power and isolation into strength. Now that creation was rising from the Earth. Now it was spreading across the stars, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same. Orish looked back at Earth one final time. The planet glowed with light it had not shown in 300 years. Human civilization reborn. Human power unleashed. He turned away and flew toward home, carrying the message that would change everything. Behind him, the Risen Fleet moved forward. They did not hurry. They did not need to. They had waited 3 centuries for this moment. They could wait a little longer.